In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and peace and blessings be upon the seal of the prophets, our Master Muhammad, his pure family, his noble companions, and all those who follow his path until the day of judgment. Among the treasures of Islamic wisdom are the sayings of Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib, the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, the fourth rightly guided caliph, the first young man to embrace Islam, a warrior of truth, and a man whose heart was filled with knowledge, courage, and piety. His words are like pearls, simple in form yet carrying deep oceans of meaning. One such saying that demands reflection is this: 3 things shorten a person's faith: attending the gatherings of the wealthy, companionship of women, and arguing with the ignorant. These are not just words to be read, but lessons to be lived. They address some of the most common pitfalls that weaken a believer's sincerity, humility, and connection with Allah. When Hazrat Ali speaks of the gatherings of the wealthy, he is not condemning wealth itself, for Islam does not view wealth as evil. Rather, the danger lies in the spiritual harm that can come from being in environments where materialism dominates, where the heart begins to measure success not by closeness to Allah but by possessions, power, and social standing. The gatherings of the rich can tempt the believer to adopt worldly values, to envy what others have, and to forget that true honor comes from taqwa, God consciousness. When a believer sits among the wealthy who flaunt their luxuries, their words, habits, and outlook can subtly influence the heart. Without realizing, the believer might start valuing material gain over spiritual growth, feeling inferior for lacking what others have, or even compromising their principles to gain favor. Hazrat Ali's warning reminds us that our company shapes our priorities, and our priorities shape our destiny. The second danger he mentions is the excessive companionship of women, not in the sense of lawful marriage or family relations, but in situations where such company is unnecessary, unguarded, and leads to temptation. Islam recognizes the natural attraction between men and women, and sets boundaries to protect the dignity, honor, and purity of both. Unnecessary close interaction, casual conversations without purpose, and time spent without modesty and caution can weaken one's resolve, distract the mind from worship, and open the door to sins of the heart. Hazrat Ali's advice here is a call to guard the eyes, the heart, and the time Allah has given us. Love and desire, when guided by the Sharia, can be a source of blessings, but when they overstep the limits set by Allah, they can quickly lead to regret, guilt, and spiritual downfall. A believer must be aware of how easily the nafs, the ego, can be swayed, and must protect themselves with self-discipline and remembrance of Allah. The third point Hazrat Ali warns about is arguing with the ignorant. This is a trap many fall into, thinking that every false statement must be met with debate, that every wrong opinion must be crushed. But arguing with someone who is ignorant, not in knowledge alone but in manners and sincerity, often brings no benefit. Instead of guiding them, it can lead to anger, pride, and the escalation of conflict. The Quran instructs the believers to argue with them in the best manner, and to walk away from futile disputes. When we argue with someone whose heart is not open to truth, the discussion becomes about winning rather than learning, about defending one's ego rather than seeking guidance. Hazrat Ali understood that such arguments waste time, harden hearts, and often plant seeds of hatred instead of understanding. The wise believer chooses their battles. Sometimes silence, patience, and a good example are far more powerful than any argument. If we reflect deeply, we see that these 3 dangers share a common thread. They distract the believer from the remembrance of Allah, weaken the heart's humility, and replace sincerity with worldly concerns. Sitting in gatherings of the rich without spiritual discipline can lead to love of dunya. Unnecessary interaction with women outside the bounds of Sharia can ignite desires that pull the heart away from purity. Arguing with the ignorant can corrupt one's intentions, turning a call to truth into a contest of pride. In all 3 cases, the heart suffers, and faith, which is a delicate trust, becomes shortened. The Prophet Muhammad taught us that faith increases with obedience and decreases with sin. Every time we allow the dunya, desires, or ego to take priority over Allah's command, we chip away at the light of Iman in our hearts. Hazrat Ali's wisdom is therefore a roadmap for protecting faith. Avoid environments that feed greed, avoid situations that inflame unlawful desires, and avoid conflicts that feed the ego. But the saying is not only a warning, it is also an invitation. By knowing what shortens faith, we also know what strengthens it. Instead of gatherings of the wealthy that promote pride, seek gatherings of the pious that promote remembrance of Allah. Instead of unnecessary interactions that lead to temptation, engage in relationships that are pure, purposeful, and within the limits set by Allah. Instead of arguing with the ignorant, spend time with those who seek truth and knowledge sincerely. Faith is like a garden, it requires regular care, protection from harmful elements, and a conscious effort to keep it flourishing. If we are careless, weeds of arrogance, desire, and anger will overgrow it. Hazrat Ali's saying is like the advice of an experienced gardener, telling us which weeds are most dangerous and must be removed before they choke the life out of our spiritual garden. In our modern world, these lessons are more relevant than ever. The gatherings of the wealthy are no longer just physical, they are on our phone screens, in social media feeds where influencers flaunt lifestyles of luxury. Without discipline, scrolling through these images can stir jealousy, make us feel deprived, and plant seeds of dissatisfaction with what Allah has given us. The companionship of women can now happen in virtual spaces, casual chatting, sharing personal content, or inappropriate online friendships that bypass the modesty and caution Islam teaches. As for arguing with the ignorant, the internet has made it easier than ever to get into endless comment battles with people who have no desire to listen, only to mock or provoke. Hazrat Ali's warning applies in these digital spaces just as much as in real life. The solution is not to isolate ourselves completely from the world. Islam is a religion of balance, but to be aware, to guard the heart, and to make choices that protect faith. Attend gatherings where Allah is remembered, where your heart leaves with more peace than when you entered. Keep your interactions with the opposite gender dignified, respectful, and within the limits set by Allah. Choose your conversations carefully, and walk away from debates that harm more than they help. Hazrat Ali himself lived this wisdom. Though he was surrounded by wealth, power, and politics as a caliph, he lived simply, gave generously, and valued truth over status. He treated women with the utmost respect and modesty, honoring family ties while guarding boundaries. He engaged in debates only when they could bring benefit, and often chose silence when the other party's heart was closed. His example is proof that these principles are not only words to be admired, but a lifestyle to be lived. In the end, every believer will face the moment when wealth, beauty, and arguments will mean nothing, when we stand before Allah, stripped of all status, with only our deeds and sincerity in hand. On that day, those who guarded their faith against these pitfalls will find it shining bright, while others may regret having let it be worn down by the distractions of this world. Hazrat Ali's words are a gift, a reminder that faith is precious, fragile, and worth protecting from anything that can shorten it. May Allah grant us the wisdom to recognize gatherings that harm our hearts, the discipline to guard our interactions with the opposite gender, and the patience to walk away from arguments that bring no benefit. May He make our hearts firm upon His remembrance, and allow us to meet Him with faith that is strong, pure, and complete. Amin.